The first range here are varieties that did not receive fungicide, and then right in the back, the same varieties here that received fungicide. We are just starting to see that stripe rust is really starting to get going here, and we believe that Dr. Hunger will talk more about that later, I'm sure, but we believe that it's just about to increase even more the pressure. So today, if you walk in the plots, you will be able to see how varieties are handling stripe rust, and also we are seeing some leaf rust too. So I'm expecting that this year we are going to see some good fungicide response in the trial. So just to start here, we started with the variety Gallagher. So the first varieties here are all from OSU. Gallagher, as you may be very familiar, it continues to be one of the most top grown variety here in Oklahoma. Has Hessian fly resistance, leaf rust resistance. It's a medium maturity variety as far as heading, and medium early as far as first hollow stem. It has a moderate tolerance to acid soils and also an intermediate tolerance to lodging. So it has done well in the trials, good leaf health, and yeah. And as we move here, I'll skip some of those here, and Dr. Carver will also talk about them at his stop. And so Bentley, it is a variety that has shown a good forage production and especially a good recovery from grazing. It is one of the varieties that is the top, it's one of the top fall forage producers at our forage trials in Stillwater this year. It has an intermediate resistance to stripe rust and to leaf rust, and good acid soils tolerance, good lodging tolerance, good milling and baking quality. And as we move here to Lone Rider, Lone Rider has an excellent yield potential. It's more, it has a limited grazing potential. It's more for a grain-only system. It has a moderate tolerance to leaf rust and intermediate resistance to stripe rust. Very early as far as heading. First hollow stem, it's highly inconsistent. It tends to be early in the panhandle and intermediate, medium, late downstate. So it's tolerant to acid soils, tolerant to lodging, is a fairly short variety. So it's a drought tolerant variety too. And as we move here to Skydance, Skydance is a variety that has a high yield and forage potential, has an excellent dose strength, and it's more intended for a grain-only system. It has a stripe rust resistance, moderate resistance to leaf rust, consistently early to break dormancy, so consistently early to returns to lodging, so it could lean at times. Overall, it has a premium quality, good test weight, and drought tolerance. Also, it does well under low nitrogen environments. And as we move here to breakthrough, so one of the things that I remained with a very clean canopy. So this variety here from OSU has, has shown a very good canopy hygiene. So it's something that you may want to walk in the plots later and take a look at that too. So breakthrough, it's more adapted to the panhandle in northwest Oklahoma, but it can be planted downstate. So it has a good grazability overall, but intermediate fall forage production. Is one of the few varieties that we have that has resistance to the wheat streak, mosaic viruses, moderate resistance to both leaf rust and stripe rust. First hollow stem, it's a medium maturity, and when we look at long-term data, we have been seeing it consistently on the medium maturity as far as first hollow stem. Has an intermediate tolerance to acid soils, good lodging tolerance, and also a good shattering tolerance and a good test weight. So, yeah. So now we move up here to West bred varieties. So here we have WB4269. So this variety has done well in the trial, so it has demonstrated a high yield potential, and it's more recommended for a grain only with limited grazing. Has a good disease resistance package, both leaf rust and stripe rust, and moderate susceptibility to Hessian fly. So it's a medium early variety as far as first hollow stem and early to head. Moderate tolerance to acid soils and good lodging tolerance too. So it's a medium short variety. And here we have WB4401, also a variety that has a good forage potential, good yield potential, good disease resistance with an intermediate resistance to both to stripe rust and septoria, and also intermediate resistance to leaf rust. So medium early as far as first hollow stem and medium maturity as far as heading. It's tolerant to acid soils and it has an average lodging tolerance too. So here, WB4699, it is a variety also that has a good yield potential, stripe rust, medium late as far as heading, and medium maturity as far as first hollow stem. It's moderate susceptible to acid soils and it has a good, excellent lodging tolerance too, and also a good test weight. So here we have WB4792. It's a variety that has a good yield potential, good milling and baking quality, has resistance to leaf rust, moderate resistance to stripe rust, and a medium late variety as far as heading, and a medium maturity as far as first. Now moving up here to varieties from Agrimax Syngenta. So Bob Dole was developed by Kansas State University and licensed to Agrimax Syngenta. So it's a variety that has also done well in the trials, has a good yield potential. It's a variety also that we moderate resistance to in resistance to stripe rust. It's susceptible to both wheat streak mosaic and barley yellow dwarf viruses, and also to Hessian fly. So medium maturity as far as heading, and it's early to break dormant, so early first hollow stem. It's tolerant to acid soils, has a good lodging tolerance, so it gets very tall. And so also from Agrimax Syngenta, it's a variety that has high yielding in dry lands, high yielding potential in the dry land system. So has a great disease resistance package with resistance to stripe rust and a moderate resistance to leaf rust. It's susceptible to barley yellow dwarf. And we have seen this also in our trials in Stillwater that has a heavier barley yellow dwarf pressure. We are seeing a little bit more here in this variety. It's a medium early as far as heading, medium maturity as far as first hollow stem, so it's tolerant to acid soils and moderate tolerant to lodging. It's also a short variety. Here we have AP Ever Rock. It's a variety that has, I would say, an average forage production based on our forage trial. So it has resistance to barley yellow dwarf, resistance to leaf rust, and a moderate resistance to stripe rust, intolerance. And here, SY Achieve CL2. It's a variety that has a good yield and forage potential. And this variety has the 2 genes for herbicide tolerance for the clear field system. Has an intermediate resistance to stripe rust, and it is susceptible to leaf rust. And you can see a little bit of a pressure here today in the plots from those diseases. So it's very early when you look at long-term data on first hollow stem. It's very early to break dormant, so very early for first hollow stem, and early as far as heading. Has a moderate tolerance to acid soils and also to lodging. So we may benefit from a fungicide if leaf rust pressure starts to get high. So moving up here to varieties from Kansas Wheat Alliance, we have here KS Dallas. So KS Dallas has a good forage production. It has a good resistance to leaf rust in a first hollow stem and heading. It's susceptible to acid soils and it has an average tolerance to lodging. So it's also a variety that has a good baking and milling quality. So KS Western Star is a variety that is more adapted to northwestern Oklahoma and Panhandle. It has a good yield potential, good forage production. It is one of the varieties that it's one of the top forage producer variety in our trials at Chickasha this year, although it's intended more for a grain only system. So has a moderate resistance to stripe rust and leaf rust, and also it has resistance to the wheat curl mite. So it's susceptible to the wheat streak mosaic, but that resistance to the wheat curl mite may give it a little protection to that virus. So it's late as far as heading and a medium maturity as far as first hollow stem. Susceptible to acid soils and very good lodging tolerance. And KS Silverado, also from Kansas Wheat Alliance, so it's a white wheat. It has a broad adaptation to the central and western Oklahoma. Average forage production, more intended for a grain-only system, so very good resistance package, including moderate resistance to stripe rust, leaf rust, and moderate resistance to the wheat streak mosaic virus. Medium maturity as far as heading and first hollow stem, moderate tolerance to acid soils, and very good lodging tolerance. And here we have KS Hatchet, also from KWA. It is a variety that is intended for northern Oklahoma, more like for a limited grazing situation. So it has a moderate resistance to leaf rust and resistance to hash and fly. And it's moderately susceptible to stripe rust. Medium early as far as heading, which is heading time could be similar to Everest. Moderate tolerance to acid soils and average lodging tolerance. It has a good test weight too. And now moving up here to varieties from Lima grain. So we have variety that is called Lcs Photon Ax. So this variety has the 2-gene resistance to aggressor brand herbicide, so it has the oxygen trait for a coaxium system. It is a variety that has good forage production, intended for both grain only and dual purpose. Has a moderate resistance to stripe rust. It is susceptible to leaf rust and hash and fly. Medium maturity as far as first hollow stem, and medium early for heading. It's susceptible to acid soils, and it has also a moderate lodging tolerance. So good test weight overall, good quality and protein. It's also a drought tolerant variety. So here we have LCS Chrome, so also from Lima grain. It's a variety that has a good yield in forage production, good disease resistance package. It has also remained very clean in our trials, especially when we see a heavier pressure of rust. So it has demonstrated a good leaf hygiene too. So it has resistance to both leaf rust and stripe rust. Very late to break dormancy, so it's usually one of the last ones. So very late to reach first hollow stem, late to head. It's tolerant to acid soils, excellent lodging tolerance. So it has a medium high so chrome, and it does have this blue-gray leaf color that is very characteristic of this variety. And here we have Lcs Atomic Ax. So first year in the trial, you're learning about it. It's adapted to north central Oklahoma, northwest, and panhandle. It's intended more for grain only, and grain only with a limited grazing. Has resistance to stripe rust, moderate resistance to leaf rust, and intermediate maturity as far as first hollow stem, early to heading. So it's tolerant to acid soils, and it has an excellent lodging tolerance. So also, it has a tolerance to drought and heat. And here we have Lcs Helix Ax. Yeah, so I forgot to, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but those two are also for the coaxium system. All of those that have the AX here in the name, they are all for the coaxium system. So Lcs Helix Ax, also first year in the trial, we're learning more about it, but it's targeted for north central, northwest, and panhandle Oklahoma. It has a moderate resistance to stripe rust, and it's moderate susceptible to leaf rust. It's tolerant to acid soils, and it has a very good lodging tolerance too. And now we are going to skip some of this here. Marla is here, and she can talk more with you about the Lima grain varieties too. We will go with a variety from Dynagrow seed. So this is Buckhorn AX, also a variety with the oxygen trait for the coaxium system. So it's the first year in the trial, you're learning more about it. This variety has an intermediate resistance to both leaf rust and stripe rust. It's susceptible to hash and fly. It's early to head, it's tolerant to acid soils, and it has an average lodging tolerance, so just need to be careful to not overseed, and also with a high nitrogen environment. So here we have a variety from Ag Seco. So Ag Icon was developed by Kansas State University and licensed to Ag Seco by KWA. It's a variety with a good yield potential, intended more for grain only. It's susceptible to hash and fly. Medium early maturity as far as heading, and a medium maturity as far as first hollow stem. So good acid soil tolerance, good lodging tolerance, good tillering. One of the things that just may need to watch is the test weight that is rated as fair. Ag Radical, also from Ag Seco, it's first year in the trial. We don't have much information about it, and we'll know more about it by the end of the season. So here we have varieties from Plains Gold, Canvas. It's more suited for western Oklahoma. It's intended for grain only. Has resistance to stripe rust, wheat streak mosaic, and it's moderately susceptible to leaf rust. So medium maturity as far as heading and first hollow stem. It has an excellent lodging tolerance, also drought tolerance. Here it's intended for grain only. It has an intermediate resistance to stripe rust, also has resistance to wheat streak mosaic viruses, and moderately susceptible to leaf rust. So medium early as far as heading and early to break dormant, so early first hollow stem. Has a very good lodging tolerance, and also it has shown a high yield potential, especially here at Lahoma last year. So here we have Gordian. It is a variety that has resistance to wheat streak mosaic, and also a moderate resistance to both stripe rust and leaf rust. So it's a medium maturity as far as heading, and it has a good lodging tolerance. So it has a good protein, good test weight, good milling and baking quality. And now a variety from Agrimax. So we have AM Cartwright. It is a variety that has demonstrated a good early vigor. It has resistance to Hessian fly, moderate resistance to both leaf rust and stripe rust, medium maturity as far as heading, and also first hollow stem. Has a moderate tolerance to acid soils, very good lodging tolerance. It's a mid-short variety. Overall, good disease resistance package. So now moving up here to varieties from crop plan, we have CP7909. So this variety has demonstrated an average forage production. It has resistance to soil-borne mosaic viruses and moderate susceptibility to both leaf rust and stripe rust. So it's a medium maturity variety as far as first hollow stem and heading. Has a good lodging tolerance. It responds well to both nitrogen and fungicide. And moving up here to also varieties from crop plan, so we have CP7017AX. First, it has a scab resistance. It's a medium maturity as far as heading. John here also representing crop plan, so if you guys have more questions, he will be around. So we have also here CP7050AX, again first to heading. It has a tolerance to acid soils, very good lodging tolerance, good test weight, and drought tolerance. And now moving here to a variety from CHS, we have Allegiant 3063. This variety is also first year in the trial. You're learning more about it. It has a good emergence. It has resistance to Hessian fly. It's on the susceptible side as far as leaf rust, and it has a moderate susceptibility also to stripe rust, so it may benefit from fungicide application. So medium maturity as far as heading, very good lodging tolerance, good test weight, and drought tolerance. With that, yeah, so this is all I had for you all today. I didn't cover them all, but like I said, we do have everyone here from the industry representing their varieties, and if you guys have any questions, we'll be around. Okay, so thank you.
We got plenty of time. We got 20 minutes to our next talk.
Oh, really?
If you do look at these, like Dr. Silva said at the beginning, the south block, no fungicide. That next block is the same variety with the fungicide. And if you come out here on your own time,
I guess